Elizabeth Chappell, a lifelong entrepreneur who finally found my niche. After years of new ideas and jumping from business to business, I figured out how to turn a craft into a successful career. In 2016, I started a monthly subscription box for quilters. That little startup has grown into a thriving, multiple six-figure business that I am so proud of. As a published author, designer of fabrics and patterns being sold throughout the world, my favorite thing to do is to teach others how to grow a career of their dreams. Each week, you'll hear from me or from other guests who are creative entrepreneurs, so you can learn exactly what to do and what not to do to grow a career that's more rewarding and successful than you ever thought possible. If you're ready to turn your craft into a career that you love, I am so excited you're here. Welcome to the Craft to Career podcast. I'm excited to have Eva Saunders on the podcast today of Gingerly Quilt Co. She is a super talented designer with a really unique background. I can't wait for you to hear her background of work and education and even where she's from. All of it combines to make such a unique product and look for what she designs. So let's jump in and let me introduce you to Eva Saunders. Eva, thank you so much for being here on the Craft to Career podcast. For our listeners, can you introduce yourself and tell us who you are in the quilting world?
Yeah. My name's Eva Saunders of Gingerly Quilt Co. Thanks for having me. I am a modern quilter. I love artsy quilts, quilts inspired by art and pop culture. And I'm a big Swiftie too, if you may or may not know that. And that's me. I like all the colors and all the fun modern quilt patterns. I'm a quilt pattern designer, I should maybe say.
The more we chat, the more I learn about you. We actually have a lot in common. We enjoy reading the same books. We both like Taylor Swift. We like quilting. So I'm sure there's more commonalities, but we've got a good base right there. So that's really fun.
Yeah.
But okay, I'm looking at you and I can see this quilt behind you. I would describe it as Art Deco. Is that right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
How is it pieced together? How did you come up with this design? We'll just start right there.
Yeah. Well, this is an evolution of a design. I started with a quilt called Deco Glam, which was these fans that interlock into each other. And because it has curves, I figured, hey, I want to make a quilt that doesn't have curves, that's just with squares and the same technique. So it's foundation paper piecing, but with large templates. So you're really just sewing long lines. There's no intersecting or very little intersecting except for sashing. So I really enjoy that because I just have a stack of fabrics organized and then I just go one line by one line with an audiobook, and it's so relaxing. I think this is the 5th quilt with the technique I've made in a year. So it's a different kind of FPP with the large templates, but I really enjoy it. And I usually have a design and then I figure out what the easiest way is to make it or the best way I know how to make it. And I hadn't done any FPP before that, really, just like a tiny bit like beginner style. And I don't do a lot of FPP on my own. But for these really crisp lines that you want for Art Deco, thin, crisp lines, it's just so fun. And my sewing machine is not great at sewing straight lines on its own. I have to do a lot of like holding it because I have wider feet dogs, and with the 1/4-inch seam, it just doesn't want to grip well. So it's nice for me to have straight lines to sew on the paper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How did you learn to write patterns?
Good question. I have a design degree, so I come with a graphic design background. So I've known all the programs in design, some Illustrator. I kind of had to teach myself that for pattern templates. Because the first pattern I wrote, which was a pizza made of half square triangles, people gave me feedback that it was a lot of text and hard to digest for some people. So I figured I need to learn how to properly present it for this niche. Like, I know how to make it look pretty, but the actual like step-by-step was interesting to learn, like how it should look. And you can read other people's patterns and kind of try to do the same. But I think a hard part is how do I make it digestible for people? And that comes over time too. If you use testers and you get feedback, which I
Hmm.
do use lots of testers, then it's easier to make it, so it's easy to make for people.
So how did okay, when you wrote your first pattern, were you thinking, I'm going to have this be like a source of revenue? This is going to be my niche. Like, what was your thought process with the first pattern?
Funny story. My husband saw me cutting fabric and with a rotary cutter, and he called it a pizza cutter. And I was like, this is not a pizza cutter. So his wheels started turning and he said, hey, can you make me a pizza quilt? And there was no pattern. So I had to write one for me or adjust a pattern. I actually used the exploding hearts pattern from Life of Pi quilts and slice of pie, sorry, not life, slice of pie quilts, and made it instead of a heart, made it into a pizza. And in one of the Facebook groups, the Young and Millennial Facebook group, people love this pizza so much and they begged to have a pattern. So I was like, well, I guess I can write it. I know how to do graphic design. So it wasn't really so much that I wanted to like start a business. It was just like, well, people want this and I want to write it and I want to put it on Etsy, and see what happens. And it was quite popular, but not like, breakout huge sales or anything, but I was just happy for every single person that would make it and have fun with it. And I had 20 testers and I loved seeing them making what I created. So that was really the main thing. I wanted to see other people make what I think of.
Very cool. And now are you pretty intentional with your designs? Like, I feel like you have a really distinguished look. Was that intentional or is it just you naturally are just doing what you're drawn to?
I only do what's fun for me. That's my number one rule for this. And funny enough, in the beginning, I thought more about what people may like. And once I switched to this is what I really like, and I don't care if somebody's going to like it, so many more people got excited about it and liked it. It's kind of crazy how that works. And you really have to trust your own instinct and taste. And it takes a while to find the people that like that taste.
Hmm.
Like I didn't think so many other people would like Art Deco, but apparently they do. So, and that's great because I like it. And I don't want to be forced to make samples for a pattern that I don't like, obviously. So really leaning into what I love usually works the best for me for now. I mean, maybe Art Deco's out next year and then I'm out and I have to lean into something else I like. But so far, I've been really on a Deco kick. Deco and Art Nouveau, and those kind of flow into each other. So it's been really
Hmm.
fun.
So do you have any new patterns in the works that you're going to release in the future?
I am working on a pattern for my peacock quilt. I don't know if you've seen that. It was at QuiltCon this year. And as always with my deco patterns, or as with Deco Glam, the first one, I always think, oh, this is too hard. Who's going to want to make this? Because me making it the first time is always a struggle until I figured it out.
Hmm.
And then I'm like, how can I make this really approachable and easy for people to do? Do I give tips and hacks? What technique is the best? And so I'm working on making the peacock quilt approachable. It's going to take a while though, because it has a lot of different techniques in it. It has quilt as you go. It has my quilt painting technique. It has inset curve piecing. It has applique. So that's a lot to put on pattern. And I'm taking my time to figure out how to do that properly. But that's definitely something because so many people have asked me if I can write a pattern for it that
Would
I
you
want
ever
to
consider
do.
like a book or an ebook or anything?
Originally, my whole patterns inspired by art and art history. Actually, the start of that was I wanted to make a book that goes through art history with different quilts. And
Hmm, cool.
I that was when I took a business class at the Small Business Development Center because my patterns at that time weren't really bringing back enough money to keep going and not having to invest in it. So I figured maybe there's something I can do to create more revenue. And my business advisor then told me, if you're working on this book for a year or two and you don't know if people are going to be interested in it, that's a big risk for a business. I don't know if that's going to get you in any better spot. She said, what's the smallest thing you can do of this book idea that you can test if people want to see or if people want it? So, and that's how I came up with a class idea. I said, well, I can teach a class on one of the techniques instead of doing a whole book with a whole bunch of different styles. And that was my Starry Night quilt and quilt painting technique at the time, which is very different from Art Deco. And that's why, or Art Deco. And that's why I have so many different styles, because I just love going through art history. I don't have like only one favorite.
So you're good if Art Deco does become not as popular. You've got other things to fall back on, which is lovely, which I do want to chat about this technique that you use for the Starry Night. What you call it, fabric painting? Is that right?
I call it quilt painting because I use fabric strips as oil, like in a similar manner. I tried to recreate like thick oil brush strokes of people like Vincent van Gogh, Edvard Munch, Monet, but Monet's got a little bit more fuzzy. I'm basically just cutting strips and sewing them, and it's very meditative. It's very freeing because you don't have any seam allowance. You don't have to iron anything. You just cut your strips ahead and just go to town. And if something doesn't look good, you just go over it again or undo it, which you can't do with paint. You can't seam rip something, right? So it's a very intuitive, free-flowing kind of painting without the mess for me, because I don't like the mess of acrylic and the smells and everything. So yeah, I did a study first to see where this could go with the Starry Night. And I've made one other one so far. They take a long time to make, so it takes a while, which was the American Scream, my Edvard Munch inspired quilt. So yeah, and maybe I'll make some more. We'll see.
So cool.
I'm inspired.
And that was your idea. You went with a course. You made an online course where you teach how to do the quilt painting. Do you specifically teach Starry Night, or do you just teach the method? Okay.
Yeah. So what the class is kind of a crash course in principles of art and design that you can use for any sort of art and quilting, whether it's picking colors for a pattern or it's picking contrast, which includes picking colors, or texture when you're quilting, or picking pantographs. It kind of translates to a wider art practice. Also, finding, if you like improv or something like that, finding your line work, finding, your style. And we do that while we do a study of Starry Night. So we look at different parts of it each week. We focus on a different principle each week, and then kind of practice it while working with the quilt painting technique to make the quilt. So it's 3 things in one. You make a quilt, right? And I have, I think, 40 hours of videos, which is about 4 to 5 hours a week. So you can quilt together with me. You can have a video running and go with me. It's like I'm there with you. And I walk you through every single little part of the quilt, and then we talk about how that applies to the principles we learned. So it's an intensive art course, I would say. And you'll learn a new technique that you can use to, recreate other paintings or photographs or your own once you've done it once. So
that's crazy cool. I mean, it sounds like a college semester course where you're learning art theory, but not just art. And you're walking away with a take-home thing that you've made. Like, pretty cool. And I think you're opening this up soon. Is that right?
Yeah. The next class starts May 21st. So you can enroll now. I offer a limited amount of kits because it's a whole, I think it's 20 colors that are inspired by the original colors of the Starry Night quilt. And you only need like 1/8 of a yard per color, and that's really hard to get in a quilt shop. So I do all the work and cut them up for you. put them in
Very
a
nice
kit.
of you.
Yeah, with the stiletto and some matching thread and with some glow in the dark thread. So the twist I did on
Hmm.
my first Starry Night is that I quilted it with glow in the dark thread. So if you turn the lights off, you still see the night
That is so
motif.
cool. Get out of here. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I love it. I love the way your brain works. Oh my gosh. Like, I respect it from a distance. I don't think the same way, but that is so cool. Yeah, I love it. So I'm actually like, do I have time to take this course? Gosh, that sounds amazing. So rewind a little bit. Can you share, did you have a profession before you started quilt patterns and courses, like a
Yeah.
full-time career job? And do
Um,
you still?
yeah. So I studied design and filmmaking. So I was a content creator for BuzzFeed for a little bit. I've worked in different film companies, in translation because I'm bilingual. I'm originally from Germany, and so I speak German and
Hmm.
English. So I've done all kinds of hustly things to make it in the film industry back in LA. But for health reasons, I had to stop doing that. So I needed to find a job that I can do from home and on my own time. And I'm not 100% reliant on this business to survive. Like, I'm very grateful that my family can provide for me and I can find something that I really love. And then the money is second. I lead by my passion. And so I have a lot of background in like content creation from beforehand and graphic design, but I'm not doing that anymore now. But I'm using it for my business to, to create content for social media, even though I hate some of it, parts of it. I'm trained in like proper cinematic movies and planning and all that, and social media, just all that goes out the window. So
Yeah.
it's sometimes hard for
You're
me.
overqualified.
Yeah, and when I did my class, it took me 9 months to film it. Most people wouldn't have taken that much time, but I have so much attention to detail and dare I say perfectionism. And I was like, I can't just like show them one corner of the quilt and then tell them good luck. I want to show them every part. And I have high expectations to myself and the videos I put out. So I try to use some of that, some of my background in what I do now. So I don't do that anymore. I do quilting full time. I like that I can work on my own schedule. That helps me. And for my health, and stress levels, I only really do what I enjoy. Although there's sometimes stuff I don't enjoy as much, like proofreading subtitles for when I do a class with subtitles. And, you know, some parts are always annoying, but generally I only
Hmm.
really do the things I'm passionate about and that I enjoy. So I'm very
That's
grateful that
really cool.
that's how I can run this business.
So you actually had a career in LA in the film industry. It sounds like one of those things that people are like, I'd love to do this, but no one ever really does it. So you did, and you enjoyed it? Like BuzzFeed? This is crazy. This is so cool.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you remember way back when, 2015, 16, the whole food video craze, the like top shot quick
Hmm.
recipe videos. Yeah, I made some of those at BuzzFeed. Um,
That is so
Tasty
cool.
was the brand. And that was I learned a lot about social media. Not that that still applies. Like a lot of social media changes a lot, but it was interesting to get a little glimpse into how the biggest viral videos are made and making some my own viral food videos where I kind of benefit from their huge audience and what works and what doesn't. Because, they had videos too that flopped. That's not,
Yeah.
nobody's safe from that.
Exactly. Well, and I saw recently you posted in a quilt pattern Facebook group that you had a reel that went viral. And can you just talk us through kind of what you shared in that Facebook group, but yeah, what it was, how it went viral, all that.
Yeah,
Well, not
yeah. It
that
was
we ever know how things go viral, but you know.
right. It was about my latest pattern, the one you see in the background. So I had launched Deco Diamonds shortly before QuiltCon, and we all know that a week or two before QuiltCon, Instagram is just taken over by QuiltCon content. So it didn't have as good as a launch as I was hoping it would. Um, and then after QuiltCon, I had a gnarly sinus infection for like 2 or 3 weeks. So I had no content from that month to share. I was like, I'm running out of content. I don't know what to do. I'm like in bed sick. And so I remembered that while I was making the quilt, I was filming a couple of little bits so I could make like a video at some point. And I forgot that I hadn't even gotten to finish that one because of all the QuiltCon stuff. So I had this sitting in my edits and I was like, well, I'll just, post this real quick. It was a very short video, 30 seconds, which usually mine are longer, but I didn't have time to make any more content. So I was just chipping it out as it was some afternoon and it just went crazy viral. It's one of those things where I really did not expect that to happen. And because I sell only PDFs, I was ready for it. My platform's gonna send them all out. I don't all of a sudden have to, run and do stuff. And I couldn't have because I was sick. So what I learned from it is, you always got to be ready because it will happen at some point. But it's also a big, big part of it is luck. Posting at the right time, posting when people are bored enough to be on social media. Sometimes politics can throw people off and people avoid looking at their phone and then all your views are down. So it's just keep posting. At some point it will happen at some random thing. Luckily, this time it was at a quilt that showed one of my patterns, and that really helped sell the pattern because all the launch before QuiltCon that didn't get as much traction because QuiltCon happened. Now I got the traction. A month after QuiltCon was enough time for people to be ready for new stuff. And actually had some pattern sales come out of it and lots of followers. I finally hit my 5,000 follower mark, which was really cool. That was something I've been looking forward to for a couple of years. And I just got high quality quilting interested followers, which was nice because I think I've only had one viral video before, not even close to this one. And that was me trying to find my AirPods and they got stuck on my magnetic pin cushion and that like blew up. But it didn't help me at all because it wasn't
Right.
showing any of my works. So I was really lucky that it happened with the right video, I gotta say. Yeah.
So I am so curious, like my reels right now in what is this, April 2026, because it changes all the time. My reels are usually no longer than 8 seconds. So when you say it's 30 seconds and that was a short one, how long are your normal reels? And what's the content that you're creating normally?
I think usually I'm like between 30 seconds and a minute. I don't know, what do I usually create? Just
Like a
I do a lot of I do tutorials, and for those, I need at least a minute. I've been posting about, I have this cutie frame with an automation that's really cool that I've been trying out, and then showing people how it works if they're interested in using something like that. And you kind of need a minute to go through some things in detail, and I'm a detail person, so it's hard for me to do 30-second videos unless it's just like showing off one quilt and nothing else. So and I did post another video shortly after the viral one just to see if we can get some of the clout and get some views too. That was with a Deco Glam video that was almost exactly the same structure. I think it was like 3 seconds longer, so maybe it was like over 30 seconds, and that's why it didn't get quite as much of a push, but it did pretty well too. So when you have something good coming out, follow up with something else to see if we can ride the wave. I personally go for social media. I don't plan ahead very much. So I usually go on like my whims.
I do too, actually. I hate to admit it, but I do too.
Yeah, because with trends, they change so fast and you kind of need to read the room on what people are consuming. So oftentimes, if I do make something farther ahead, when I'm ready to post it a week later, I'm like, I don't like this because then I overthink it. So I just have to like make it send it and not think about it. That's my way of doing it. And I don't post that many reels, maybe like one a week or something and a post. I try to be look at social media more sustainably. Like I do a quick story often, but posts and reels I do take my time, and I also don't want it to take over my actual sewing and working. Yeah, I don't want the posting taking over my workday. So I try to go
Mm-hmm.
with slow and steady instead of lots of posting one week and then nothing for a couple weeks. Because Instagram likes consistency, but I'm very mindful of how much I can actually put out consistently. So I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
over post and then penalized for posting less.
Yeah. So the reel that did go viral, I'm going to take a guess. Tell me if this is accurate because this is my guess. Did it show kind of the process of making the quilt and it was like videos of step by step with little snippets?
Yeah, yeah, it was step by step, which I had found works well. I mean, I didn't expect to work that well, but it does work well, and it shows a big result at the end. Like I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I don't have many quilts a year to show the results, and I was like, oh, I don't know, but when it happens, I milk it as much as I
Yeah,
can
as you should.
because people like finished quilts, and this in particular, this Deco Diamonds quilt, just mesmerizes people because I think the texture of it, the like flat, shiny Art Deco texture is so unexpected with fabric. So people are like,
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was a wallpaper and it's fabric, you know? So that's one of the things that really interests me in doing these Art Deco or Impressionist quilts that it looks like something other than fabric and the texture is mimicked with fabric. And that really is what drives me with all these artsy patterns to play with that.
And I love the little thin piping. Is that what you call it? I don't know, but like it's almost like a stained glass window stroke, if you call it. I don't know what you call it,
Mm-hmm.
but and that's from FPP that you're able to get those precise thin lines.
Yeah, because I basically just sew on a line. It's like what do you call the paintings? Paint by numbers, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
for quilting, it's like sew on the lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So again, kind of more business, but if you had to say what your biggest revenue generator is, what would you say that is?
That is hard to say because on one hand, I have my classes and they're at a higher price point than my patterns because they include way more information and this class I have is 10 weeks long. So sometimes it's the class when I run it. But then recently, starting last year in the summer when Deco Glam came out, the patterns were really rivaling the classes or starting to rival the
Nice.
classes. Some people call this market fit, like I found my market niche fit, you know, the Art Deco stuff. I don't know that I will only do Art Deco from now on, but it was really exciting to see people like what I put out. And same with Deco Diamonds with the reel that went viral. I sold a bunch of patterns. So it's, yeah, maybe it's for this year, it's maybe about even for patterns and
Okay.
classes. So I'm still focusing on both. I have both running. Sometimes I think last year the patterns had a bigger turnout because people weren't wanting to spend as much money, you know, economic fears with the tariffs and stuff. People didn't want to spend as much. We also have seasonal changes with pattern sales, like people sew more in the spring than they do in the summer. They're more ready to spend money in the fall. So there's all these like fluctuations. So having both patterns and the classes kind of evens it out throughout the year, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And okay, I also saw I've been wanting to have you on the podcast. And then I saw this conversation in a Facebook thread and I was like, oh, okay, I've got to have you. But you were
Mm-hmm.
sharing, I think someone asked, like, did you guys take out money to start your business? Or like, did you have to borrow money to start a business? If so, how much? And can you just share your response? I want to dive into your experience with this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I started by investing my own money, just like the cost of making a sample and hiring a tech editor. And that was fine with me for the first 2 years. But then when I really wanted to try and bring in some more revenue so I can actually pay the time I'm working on things, because I'm not paying myself at this point, I took that business class that I mentioned, and I developed my class concept then. And this business class was a competition to win a grant at the end. And you would write a business plan, and then the best business plan ideas would be invited to pitch. It was like a mini Shark Tank, but from our local SBDC, Small Business Development Center. And I thought, man, they're going to see me with my quilts and just laugh at me. Like I'm not this like suit business person or Shark Tank pitch person. I have pitched a lot with my film stuff, so I was quite comfortable with that. And I have designed a lot of pitch decks also for other people who wanted to, raise money for films. Because with filmmaking, you have to raise money for every single project you do. So I was comfortable pitching, but I was like, they're not going to go for this. So when I stood there, I realized that people in the jury, I think most of the people in the jury had some connection to quilting, whether their grandmother was a quilter or they were interested in it. I was so surprised. And they loved just the texture and the Starry Night concept. They really loved it. So I got second place for the pitch competition. First place went to a daycare that was really sorely needed. So I'm not mad about that at all.
I was wondering who came in first. Who was it?
Yeah. Because community benefit is one of the big things. And since mine's an online class, it doesn't really benefit the community as much. So I was like, happily making space for that. But I was really happy that I got some money to buy things I needed. Like I needed a good workspace that I could film on, a big table. I got an iPhone to film with so I could get really close to the machine and comfortably sew and film. Because, filming is distracting. You want to set it up so that you can do both comfortably for long periods of time, because these quilt paintings took a while to film. So I had my startup cost. I invested a little bit of my own money to top it off. And then throughout the process of filming and preparing to release the class, the SBDC got back to me and said, hey, Eva, we saw this cool grant opportunity by Hello Alice, which was like a business boost program. So you get a little bit of like a business class modules with it on Hello Alice. And then if you had an Etsy account, you could apply for this grant that was partially funded by Etsy and a couple of other organizations. And my goal was to offer kits with the class, and I didn't have a lot of capital to buy the fabric beforehand, because you kind of have to buy it first, cut on the kits, and then offer them, because you don't want people to wait 2 months to get their stuff, right? So I needed some upfront money for that, and some for marketing as well, because I had spent most of the startup money already. And I got the grant from Hello Alice and was able to do the kits. And I'm so happy I was able to do that, because I wanted to make it really easy on people to take the class. It's quite an undertaking to do something for 10 weeks. And I wanted people to be, ready when the class starts with a kit and everything they need. So that was really awesome. I think like a year in, I started the classes last year in January, I think. And this month I was able to pay myself back my initial investment. So I'm really happy how it's going and how the patterns have picked up as well. So it's still a small business. I'm not becoming a millionaire from this, and I barely pay myself for the work, but I'm really passionate about the work. And I see this business as long as it's self-sustaining and I can, submit quilts to competitions, maybe travel to some of the competitions, then I'm happy with it. There's something left over at the end of the year that I don't want to invest, great, but as of right now, as long as
You're on something big here. Like the thing is, I can see from the outside, like you have potential to earn so much with this. So I'm excited for you. Like you're onto something really big here. So don't be afraid to reach for the stars with this. I've been in that boat where I've met with a business mentor and I'm like, I don't care about the money. And they're like, well, it's fine if that's not what motivates you, but you do have potential to earn quite a bit. And I'm like, but there's something kind of scary about that too, that feels like,
yeah, I don't want to become a slave of my own making.
Exactly.
There's a lot of Yeah, there's a lot of work that comes with being successful and keeping things going. So I like to
Right.
keep it slow, or I like to grow slowly so I get used to the workload. Because if, let's say, my class would go viral tomorrow and I'd have, I don't know, 500 participants, I'm like, where am I going to get all those kids from and cut them and all that? That would
Mm,
totally overwhelm me. So, I mean, I have systems in place so that would work, but with the PDF patterns, it's so much easier to scale up because
yes.
you have a platform that sells and it'll just keep doing that. So, yeah,
Is
there's good and
is
bad
your
sides to
course?
all of that.
Yeah. Is your course it's not evergreen. So you open it, from time to time. Are you in there going live with them or could it be an evergreen course?
It is. It could be an evergreen course, but right now it's not. Because I found that people like having a date when it starts and ends to prepare
Hmm.
mentally. To if it's 10 weeks, they want to like block out some time, and then the modules release week by week so that it keeps you on track. I feel like if
Hmm.
it was evergreen, it would be hard for people to keep going with all the 10 weeks. So there's no live component to it. It's pre-recorded. There is a Facebook group where I answer all kinds of questions. We have some sort of like homework stuff where you can post that in Facebook and see what other people posted. And I'm on Facebook live, like if you have questions or if you
Hmm.
comment, I'll be there. But there's no live Q&A because we've had some participants from overseas and in different time zones, and it's just been hard for me to kind of like set a time where everybody, assuming everybody would have time. It's more designed for, dare I say, millennial and Gen X quilters who need the flexibility. If they feel like sewing at 2 in the morning, they can log into Thinkific and sew with me. I'm always there whenever they have time, whether we have 10 minutes or 2 hours. So I really wanted to make it flexible, but I also still want people to stay motivated. So we release a module every week, and you get an email reminder every week to stay on track. And I've had
That's
people
cool.
finish in time, and they've gotten ribbons at their local county fairs for their Starry Nights, and it's been so fun to see other people experiencing the fuzzy feeling of being like, hey, this is art, you're an artist, because I believe there's an artist in everyone, and I want to
Hmm.
bring it out of you if you want to. That's what my class is for. And when some of my patterns too, like I've gotten so much with that viral reel, so much like compliments and stuff. And it's really not that hard a pattern to make. So if people
Hmm.
make their own Deco Glam, Deco Diamonds, I want everybody to tell them how great they are and how great their quilt is. And I love for people to experience that too.
The joy of creation. And I just think you have such a cool, like, call it fangirling, call it what you will, but you know art really well. And so you can pivot. Like you can go to this cool quilt painting technique. I'm just curious, there's got to be other methods because you were mentioning like the book idea and there was applique. And so there've got to be other artists that you're like, and this, what name some other artists that you'd like to see that translate into quilting.
Yeah. Well, at some point, I'd love to do pointillism, which I remember when I was in high school in art class, we had to take like a tiny little bit of a pointillism photograph in a book. So I would almost had to use like a looking glass to just see all the points that were printed by the printer. And then I spent, I think, 15 hours on like a postcard size paper with my number one pen, making points. And I loved it. And I love this effect that when you step away, the colors are mixing in your eye. Van Gogh is doing some of that, and we're touching on that in my course. But I think it'd be really cool to dive into that as well, and maybe use decorative stitches or something like that. I don't know yet. I have a lot of like abstract concepts, and I don't know when I get to them. That's not something
Yeah.
that's anytime soon. But I have a notebook with different ideas for different art styles, And it's always a push and pull between me getting art time where I make like just stuff I want to make and experiment with new things. And then there's the patterns, which I want to share with people. And sometimes one turns into the other. Sometimes one takes time from the other. So it's really whatever I feel passionate about at that moment. I'll I'll get into.
Cool.
Yeah.
And oh, go ahead.
And sometimes they also cross over, like with my peacock quilt, I used piecing and I used the quilt painting together. So that was a really interesting project to try that out. I was a little reluctant to mix the two because in my brain I was like, does this go together? Is this weird? Because I had these two tracks, and maybe there'll be more of that. I don't know. Depending on what sort of quilts and motifs I want to make, and then the technique comes after that.
I think sometimes as creative entrepreneurs, we get nervous that what if I run out of ideas? We really don't. I think if you're copying other people, that's the risk, but if you're truly tapping into, which we all have within us, if you really are like, what do I love? What calls to me like that? You can't replicate that. You're not going to run out of that, like you've got this whole notebook, but for people who don't, just to know, like, spend some time really exploring what lights you up. And I just think that's really cool.
Yeah. Inspiration is a fickle thing, I will say. And I think for a lot of people, the biggest issue is that you just don't have the headspace. Like if your life is stressful, you're struggling to get by, or you're mentally exhausted, it's really hard to be creative. And creating some time for yourself to be bored is the best thing you can do for creativity. And I just noticed this after QuiltCon, like there was so much going on and it's so exciting, and you get home and you fall into this deep hole and you're not inspired at all to do anything. It takes like a week or two for me, or after a pattern launch, like what next, right? Or after a really successful pattern, you're like, how am I going to top this? I'm never going to be able to top this. So all these mental blocks we have, I think they go away once you have nothing to do and you don't know what to do, and you get bored, because then your brain goes into like, what could I do? What could I do? I'm so bored, but maybe I could do this or could do that. At least that's what it's like for me. So having time for yourself, whether that's going on a walk or going on the treadmill or taking a shower, just like time for yourself where you don't have to think about anything else, and just clear your mind and let yourself be bored. That always helps me get creative. And then, for some people, it can be hard to carve out time to actually do the thing. But I think it's a worthwhile thing for your mental health and for your well-being to allow yourself a little bit of time. Whether some people read books, some people watch movies, but instead of just binge watching a whole show, over a week, can you sit down and sew instead and do something for your nervous system that may be more relaxing than, because I know for myself, TV riles me up before bed and I don't sleep as well. And if I'm sewing at night, I have more of a calm and I sleep better for myself personally. So, it's a matter of making time and creating opportunities for your brain to get bored.
I really love that. Oh, I did want to ask about health. There are a lot of entrepreneurs who struggle with health issues. You've mentioned that. How do you make that work for you? Any tips that you have? And it's going to look different for everyone, but I think it's always helpful to hear, like, I'm not alone. What does this person do?
I have a chronic health issue, so I had to work with a therapist in accepting that. I'm not going to lie, it was like a 1 or 2 year long process of from working full time to not being able to work and having to figure out what to do instead. The feeling of like not being useful, like not having a goal, or like all your goals are gone. Everything you've worked towards are gone because you can't do it anymore. So that was a hard pill to swallow, but it also gave me the opportunity to think of what I really want to do, what brings me joy. because if you struggle with your health, stress is like the number one thing that can make everything worse. And so I had to really work on slowing down, not stressing. And my mantra has also been like not to stress other people. Whenever I'm on like a phone call with someone or like outside of quilting or with the business thing, yes, there are deadlines, you know, I have testers. If life happens, life happens, you know, like I'm always understanding, and I try to give a framework where people don't have to stress and like work through nights or whatever, you know, like nothing's that important, but really keeping your stress low, eating well, doing exercise if you can, even if it's hard sometimes, really helps. And then, you know, paying attention to your mental health, find something that I get overstimulated easily, so I try finding things that don't overstimulate me as much. And yeah, just accept what you have to work with and then make the best out of it without stressing yourself out. You know, like have to make a quilt for a wedding. Well, is it going to be so bad if the quilt's going to be done 2 months after the wedding? They're still going to love the quilt. And maybe the gift will even get more attention after the wedding when not everybody's showering them and stuff. You know, like, does it really have to be today? Do you really have to pull an all-nighter to get this done? This goes for everyone. With pattern releases, like, do I really have to have 2 samples ready at the release and photos down? Is a quilt top enough? You know, if you had health issues, you couldn't get it done, or can you share the second quilt later to give it a second win on social media? You know, there's so many. I always say we're not curing cancer. It's kind of an odd phrase, overused phrase, but it's really just quilters, and all we want to do is share joy, right? And if that's at the expense of our own joy because we work ourselves too hard, then I don't think that's a good way to do it.
Yeah,
you know,
or
like,
sustainable, you know, that's one way to get burnt out real fast.
Because I'd rather not hate sewing after that because it was so uncomfortable, you know?
Yeah. Well, and it's especially interesting when it's our own business and we set our own deadlines. You know, it's like, what if I moved the deadline? Oh no, everyone's going to hate me. No, they're not. You know, like it's very easy to, get in that conundrum of like, but I said this date is going to release, and so now I have to. But we can adjust.
What you said is very valid, and give yourself some grace. Don't stress yourself out. I think that'll help your mental and physical health the best.
Absolutely. So can you give a little bit of a teaser? I know there's something that's going to be coming out, I think in the summer. We're just going to tease. Can you tell us anything about it?
Yeah, well, I'm going to be able to talk about it in the summer. It'll come out in the fall. I have been really enjoying this year to get into more collaborations with people. I'm going to be part of 2 different samplers by other people coming up. And then I also decided to host my own sampler. And funny enough, this happened because I was sick in bed, as I said, after QuiltCon, and I got so bored. I had so many ideas, and I had one crazy idea where I was like, I got to do this. I don't care. I have time right now. I'm going to do this. And it's so hard not to talk about it. I can really understand Taylor Swift and her Easter egging now, because I believe when she's in her like songwriting era and things, she's so deep in everything. She like wants to share, but she can't yet, you know, because she works on things 2 years in advance. And I'm working on something now that's a sampler community project with 12 other designers. And it's been so cool not to have to design in a vacuum on your own. Like, I'm not sitting in my sewing room alone forever. We have a really cool Instagram chat where we coordinate, and I'm sort of an art director, you know, trying to make a cohesive sampler, which I think I can tell that much. Because a lot of times when I see samplers and they're random blocks, I personally, as like a design purist, don't always have the urge to make the whole thing. Like I might make 3 or 4 blocks, but I want to make something where you're like, man, I want to do every single block, hopefully. But, something that's mix and match where you can also do just a couple. And yeah, I'm very excited about it. It's been so magical seeing all these blocks come together and the project come to fruition. Yeah, and that's about as much as I can say about it. I think it's a little bit too early to tease any fall projects, but maybe there's some Easter eggs in this interview that you will be like, oh, okay, she kind of said it, but kind of didn't. So that's as much as I can tease.
Yeah, see what comes of it. So just if you can think of any, I mean, you've shared a lot, but as we're thinking and wrapping up, what are any last tidbits that you would have for someone who is specifically a quilter, but they're thinking of starting a quilting business? What advice would you give them?
My advice would be not trying to start opening a business that'll be full-time right away. The quilting business, and especially the quilt pattern business, the niche is quite small and we have a lot of pattern designers. It is hard these days, especially with social media, to get seen, to get exposure. And it just takes a while to find your people within that smaller niche of people. So I would recommend starting small, starting with what you love, and having a way to cover your cost and your overhead for, I don't know, at least 3 years, I would say 3 to 5 years before you can then decide, if you want to take it to full time or not, because it's hard to know how much work it is before you start. And, like dip your toe in, low risk. Don't like stress yourself out, burn out after a year, and that's fun for no one. So start slow and grow slowly. I think that's how I did it, and I think that's worked well for me.
Yeah, the slow but steady. Slow but steady wins the race. And it's really nice to I really like what you said about Instagram posting. You know yourself, and you know that if you posted 5 times every day for a week, you couldn't keep that up. And so what's reasonable and what you can consistently do. And that's how you consistently show up. So I just think that's really, really wise words. For our listeners who want to find you, follow you, check out your course, see what's coming this fall with that teaser there, where's the best place to find you?
Well, I'm the most on Instagram. So Gingerly Quilt Co is my Instagram handle. And my website where you can find my patterns is gingerlyquiltco.com. And for international listeners, I have my Etsy shop where you can buy my patterns. And I think the class you can buy on my website, international too. So I'm Gingerly Quilt Co everywhere: TikTok, Reddit, Instagram, Etsy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have to ask, is it because of your hair color? Is that where the name came from?
It is, yeah. And I'm also a gingerly person, like somebody who overthinks things and is soft-spoken. And I just felt like that would be a fun pun. That's why there's a feather in my logo, which also is a paintbrush. So yeah, like I have my logo, you wouldn't know that it's quilting except for it says quilt. So, but yeah, my hair is red, and that's been a recognizable trait of mine.
Very cool. Yeah. And you were born in Germany, is that right?
Yes, I'm an expat from Germany, so I don't have family except for my husband's family in the U.S. My family's all in Germany, and I'm German 100%.
All right, give us a little something in German.
Oof. Ich liebe Patchworking. I love quilting because in German we call it patchwork, except for the last quilting step. So
very cool.
Yeah, and I did learn quilting from my German grandmother in the 90s. So it was an unusual thing to learn in Germany, but I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Well, you are a woman of many talents. Thank you so much for being here on the podcast And listeners, go check her out. She's got some amazing art and quilting that you'll definitely want to check out and take part in.
Thank you so much for having me, Elizabeth. This was nice.
Thank you so much, Eva, for being on the podcast. And listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, take just a moment to leave a review. Leaving a review is the best way to help the podcast to continue and help others to find the podcast. So thank you again, Eva, for being here. And thank you, listeners, for being here as well.